Chapter 12, Society Story. Core need, recognition. Core life value, impotence versus power. Core emotion, intrigue. Core event, revolution. Society story answers the complex question, what do we do in the face of tyranny? Do we stand against it or comply? Society stories are about hierarchies of power between and within groups and the role of the individual in the group. These stories can take place in any setting, a school, a family, a workplace, or an entire society, as long as the disenfranchised group confronts a much more powerful ruling group. Society stories are inherently about groups, and yet the individual's ability to shape the group, for good or for ill, is usually a critical component in the events. How do you deliver the experience society story readers are looking for? The core need of recognition awakens in members of the disenfranchised class as a result of the inciting incident, a threat to the power hierarchy. This threat usually comes in the form of a crime or a speech by a visionary, a group that has been silenced and oppressed. The disenfranchised or agency deprived tries to seize agency to topple the controlling group, the tyrant or shadow agent. In some cases, the story will focus on an individual who stands in as representative of an oppressed group, one woman who represents all disenfranchised women, for example. The society genre includes at least 5 subgenres based on the setting and type of disenfranchised group, including domestic or family stories, women's stories, biographical stories that use a single life to tell the story of a revolution, historical stories, and political stories. The core life values in society stories derive from the need for recognition and span a spectrum that includes impotence and power. The brand of power at stake in a society story can be defined by other needs in addition to the core need, including justice, freedom, love, social mobility, or self-actualization. Society stories' core emotions are as complex as the plots. When the revolution succeeds or fails based on the leaders of the disenfranchised class exposed the tyrant's lies or were co-opted, readers feel the core emotion of intrigue. If the disenfranchised class defeats the shadow agent tyrant, we might feel triumph. Perhaps if the luminary agent can successfully lead a revolution by expressing their gift and regaining recognition, we might do the same. If luminary agents fail to express their gifts and are co-opted by the shadow agent, we will feel righteous indignation. Through well-told society stories that end in co-option of the revolution's leaders, readers come to understand that we can all quickly transform into that which we seek to destroy. The global crisis of society story brings us to the extreme of the power-impotence spectrum as the luminary agent confronts a choice. The luminary agent must decide whether to sacrifice themselves to expose the hypocrisy of the shadow agent. That decision comes to fruition in the core event, or the revolution scene. The revolution, which is both the global climax and the climax of the ending payoff, integrates all 3 core essentials. The protagonist's core need for recognition defines the core life value of power at stake, which if not attained evokes the core emotion of righteous indignation in the reader, and if achieved, evokes triumph. Often in society stories, the disenfranchised seize power only to have it taken away in the end, either violently or through the intellectual machinery of propaganda. The revolutionaries can be undermined through their own narratives as much as through outside forces. People choose society stories to experience the fear and exhilaration of rebelling against the quote-unquote system without real risk. The positive universal takeaway or controlling idea of a society story is, we gain power when we expose the hypocrisy of tyrants. In contrast, the cautionary or negative controlling idea says that tyrants can beat back revolutions by co-opting the leaders of the underclass. The revolution scene is when the luminary's gifts are expressed and power changes hands, a distinct shift in control from one segment of society to another. The revolution often includes a demonstration of physical force, but can also be more peaceful. The only requirement of the revolution scene is that it must include a revelation of truth, a revelation about the true nature of the tyrant, exposing their lives in hypocrisy, is usually the catalyst for a successful revolution, as in the film Toy Story 3. In other cases, the hypocrisy of a member of the revolutionary class is revealed, and the revolution fails, as in George Orwell's novel Animal Farm. In that case, we come full circle, and power once again resides with the farmers. Contrast that result with a 180-degree shift in E.L. Doctorow's Ragtime. in which the disenfranchised form a family. Summing up, in Society Story, the core need for collective esteem and self-determination leads us to identify with the members of the disenfranchised class, and we respond to conflict on the power-impotence spectrum with intrigue, triumph, or righteous indignation. In the core event, the revolution scene, recognition is most in jeopardy. The life value of impotence is at the extreme, and the emotion of triumph or righteous indignation reaches its height, depending on whether the revolution succeeds or fails. By setting up and delivering this scene in an innovative way, you meet the society genre reader's expectations.